I let my cousin stay with me after her divorce. She said, "It's just until I get back on my feet." 6 months later, she'd moved her kids in, rearranged my house, and changed my Netflix password. When I brought it up, she laughed and said, "You're just mad I made this place livable." One night, I came home and found my bedroom door locked. She whispered through it, "You should really start knocking." That was the last night I slept there. The next morning, I called the locksmith. What I found inside changed everything. I live in a small suburb outside Fort Worth, Texas. It's not fancy, but it's quiet. I own a 3-bedroom house my mom left me when she passed. I've lived here alone since 2017. I work full-time as a dispatcher for a tow company. Steady pay, odd hours, but it keeps the lights on. I've always kept to myself, and I like it that way. Until Valerie called. Valerie is my cousin. We were close as kids, same age, same summers at our grandma's place. But we hadn't talked much in years. She lives in San Antonio, or did. Her husband left her for a 22-year-old coworker. She was crying on the phone, said she had no one, nowhere to go. "I just need a roof," she said. "Just a couple weeks till I find work." I didn't think twice. I told her she could stay in my guest room. I didn't even ask questions. That was my second mistake. The first was picking up the phone. She showed up 2 days later, Friday night. She had 3 huge suitcases, a makeup bag the size of a cooler, and tears in her eyes. I gave her a hug. She cried again. I told her to settle in. She said I saved her life. The first week was okay. She was quiet, mostly kept to her room, watched TV, made herself food. She said she was applying to jobs online. She didn't offer money for groceries or anything, but I figured it was temporary. By the 3rd week, I noticed little things changing. My couch pillows were rearranged. My kitchen towels were gone, replaced with pink ones from who knows where. I opened the fridge one day and saw kale and oat milk. I don't eat that crap. I didn't say anything. I just let it go. One weekend, she said she needed to go back to San Antonio to grab her stuff. She came back 2 days later with her 2 kids. No call. No warning. Just walked in like she lived there. 2 half-asleep kids and 3 duffel bags in tow. Didn't have anywhere else, she said. Like that was enough. The kids are young. One's in kindergarten, the other maybe 3rd grade. I didn't want to make a scene in front of them. So I let it go. Again. The guest room turned into their room. Valerie moved into my office without asking. She said, "You weren't using it anyway." I worked from home 2 days a week. I had to start working from my kitchen table with cartoons blasting in the background. The bathroom was constantly trashed. Toys in the tub. Wet towels on the floor. My shampoo disappeared. Valerie said her daughter loved the smell. They never cleaned up after themselves. Valerie would cook and leave the mess. The sink piled up. I came home from work one night to find her friends over. A full girls' night. In my house. She laughed when I said something. "You need to relax," she said. "You're just mad I made this place livable." She changed my Netflix password. When I asked why, she smiled and said, "You were watching weird stuff." Weird stuff? I watched documentaries. True crime. History. She changed it to some kid's crap and wouldn't tell me the new password. She even started receiving mail at my house. I confronted her about it one night. I was already tense. Long shift, rough day. I walked into my kitchen and found spaghetti all over the counter. One of the kids had written on my wall with a Sharpie. Valerie was on the couch on her phone, not even looking up. "Valerie," I said, "we need to talk." She sighed and paused whatever she was watching. "This isn't working," I said. "You said a few weeks." "It's been months. I come home and it's like I don't even live here." She rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting." "No, I'm not. You moved your kids in without asking. You changed my furniture around. You took over my office. This isn't your house." She stood up. I know it's not my house, but you act like you're doing me some huge favor. I'm not freeloading. Yes, you are. She laughed. You're just mad that someone finally brought some life into this place. That night, I went to bed fuming. I locked my bedroom door for the first time. The next night, I came home and found my bedroom door locked from the inside. I knocked. Valerie, I said. She didn't answer right away. Then I heard her voice through the door, soft, smug. You should really start knocking, she said. I stood there frozen. That was the last night I slept there. The next morning, I called a locksmith. And what I found inside changed everything. I waited until Valerie took the kids to school that morning. I knew her routine by then. She'd come back around 9:15 after dropping them off and grabbing a gas station coffee. I had a short window. The locksmith showed up at 8:40. He was a quiet older guy, probably mid-60s. I told him I locked myself out of my bedroom. He didn't ask questions. Took him less than 5 minutes to pop the door open. He stepped aside. I walked in. At first, it just looked messy. My comforter was on the floor. My lamp was missing. The closet door was half open. Then I noticed the smell, strong perfume like the kind that gives you a headache. And then I saw the boxes. 2 of them, stacked in the corner. One was open. Inside were my mom's photo albums. Family keepsakes. Stuff I kept in the attic, packed carefully after she died. Valerie had taken them out and started going through them. There was a framed picture of my mom and me, cracked and face down on the floor. I felt my throat close up. Then I looked in the closet. Half my clothes were gone, replaced with her things. My work uniforms were crumpled in a pile on the floor, like garbage. My boots were shoved behind a pair of her heels. On my nightstand, there was a coffee mug with lipstick on it. My charger was missing. Even my pillow had been swapped out. I opened the top drawer of the dresser. My spare cash was gone. I kept about $600 in there. Emergency fund. Gone. I stood there for a minute, staring at the mess, the violations, the disrespect. I should have kicked her out months ago. But now it was personal. I didn't wait for her to come back. I packed everything she and the kids owned, clothes, toys, shoes, makeup, all of it. I tossed it all in the garage. Didn't even fold it. Just bagged it up and dumped it there. Then I called a buddy from work, Joey. He's the guy everyone calls when they need help moving. He came over with a truck. We carried every single thing out of my house and put it in the driveway. Every pillow she brought. Every framed sign that said "Live, Laugh, Love." Every Barbie doll. All of it. I changed the locks while Joey was there. New keys. Deadbolts. I even installed a chain lock on the front door. At 9:22, her car pulled into the driveway. She stopped short when she saw her entire life sitting outside in plastic bags and broken down boxes. She got out slowly. The kids stayed in the car. She stared at me like I was the crazy one. "What the hell is this?" she said. I didn't yell. I didn't raise my voice. I just stood there and said, "You don't live here anymore." She scoffed. "You're insane. I live here. You let me stay. You stayed too long. You crossed every line." She walked up to the porch, arms folded. "You can't just throw us out like trash." I looked her in the eye. "You locked me out of my own bedroom. You stole from me. You trashed my things. I can throw you out." I already did. She tried to argue, but I closed the door in her face. She stayed outside, yelling for almost an hour. At one point, she started fake crying, saying I was abandoning her kids. Joey stayed the whole time. Sat in the living room with me, just in case. She finally left, but not quietly. She called my phone nonstop. Left voicemails threatening to sue me. Said she'd call CPS. Said I was evil. I didn't answer once. Later that night, I checked my email. She'd reported me to our extended family. She sent a group email claiming I threw her and her babies onto the street. That I was heartless. That I stole her things. She even attached a photo of her crying next to her stuff on the lawn. Some cousins believed her. I started getting angry messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. But I also got a message from her ex-husband. That's when things really got interesting. Valerie's ex-husband's name is Mark. We'd only met once, years ago, at a family barbecue. I remember thinking he seemed too quiet for her, like he was always bracing for something. I never thought much of him after that. His message was short. Subject: "You need to know what she did," he wrote. "I'm sorry for reaching out like this, but I heard what happened through Valerie's Facebook post. I've been waiting for someone in the family to see it. I'm not trying to get involved in drama, but I feel like you should know what she did to me before the divorce. And what she's done to others. Call me if you want to talk." He left his number. I stared at the screen for a while. I almost deleted it, but something told me to call. He picked up on the second ring. "Is this Valerie's cousin?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "This is Natalie. What's going on?" He took a deep breath and said, "She's been doing this for years." That's when everything started clicking into place. He told me that 2 years before they split, Valerie convinced his sister, Mark's own sister, to let her stay after a fight they had. Just a few days, she said. She ended up living there for almost 9 months. Took over the guest room, stopped paying for groceries, started telling the sister how to raise her own kids. "She's manipulative," he said. "She doesn't even believe she's doing anything wrong. She just sees people as stepping stones." I told him what happened here. The kids, the door, the photos of my mom. Mark went quiet for a few seconds. Then he said, "Did she mention her last job?" I said no. She was fired for stealing. Petty stuff, supplies, electronics, a coworker's iPad. But she played the victim. Said it was all retaliation because of the divorce. My stomach dropped. "She also has a history of using kids as leverage," he added. "If she says anything about CPS, don't take it lightly." She made that threat during our custody battle too. We talked for another hour. By the time I hung up, I had a clearer picture. Valerie wasn't just taking advantage of me. She had a pattern. A method. The next day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I filed a police report. It wasn't for the money, though I did mention the missing $600. It was for the fact that she'd locked me out of my own room, gone through personal belongings, and tampered with mail. I had screenshots of her mail showing up at my address. That was key. They took the report. I also went down to the post office and filled out a form to stop all mail in her name from coming to my house. I called the local school and let them know she and her kids no longer lived at my address. Then I contacted the credit bureaus and put a fraud alert on my accounts. I didn't trust her with anything anymore. But Valerie wasn't done. That Friday, I came home to find a CPS business card stuck in my front door. There was a handwritten note on the back, "Call me. Need to discuss complaint." I froze. I called the number. The caseworker, Mrs. Kinsey, was calm and polite. She said someone had made an anonymous tip claiming I was endangering minors in my home. I explained everything. I invited her over the next morning. When she came, I showed her every room. Neat. Clean. No kids. No danger. I even gave her the police report. She nodded through it all. Said it wasn't the first time she'd dealt with personal retaliation. That night, I got another email. This time from an old friend of Valerie's. Someone I didn't know. She said, "I saw your name on Facebook. Just a heads up, Valerie's spinning a whole story about you stealing from her. She's trying to raise money online. Thought you should know." Attached was a screenshot of a GoFundMe. The headline read, "Abandoned by my cousin, starting over with my kids." She was asking for $5,000. She claimed she'd been kicked out unfairly, that her kids were sleeping in her car, that I'd thrown away their things. She used old pictures of her kids crying in front of the house, Valerie holding a trash bag like she'd just come out of a shelter. The fundraiser already had over $1,200. That was the moment something in me snapped. This wasn't just disrespect anymore. This was war. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that GoFundMe. That smug, fake sad look on Valerie's face. The kids she was using like props. The lies typed out like they were gospel, and strangers, handing her money because they thought I was some heartless monster. I needed to end it. All of it. The next morning, I called Mark. She started a GoFundMe, I told him. Says I threw her kids onto the street. He sighed hard. She did that before. After she left my sister's place. Raised $3,000. Spent it on clothes and a weekend trip to Galveston. I asked him if he still had the receipts. He did. He emailed me screenshots, pictures, text messages, everything. His sister sent a statement too. I called the woman who'd emailed me about the fundraiser and asked if she'd be willing to talk to someone. She said yes. Then I contacted GoFundMe directly. I submitted a full report with all the evidence. Proof of her past scams, her real living situation. She had since moved in with some guy she met at her kid's school, her CPS stunt, even the police report. They shut the page down within hours. Froze the funds. She never got a cent. That same night, I posted the whole story on Facebook. I was done staying quiet. I didn't use insults. I didn't yell. I just laid it all out. The timeline. The lies. The way she moved in, took over, stole from me. How she'd used her own kids for pity money. I added screenshots from the police report, the GoFundMe, her messages to me, even the email from her ex. I didn't tag anyone. But I didn't need to. By morning, over 50 people had shared it. Comments poured in. Some were shocked. Some weren't. One woman wrote, "She did the same thing to my sister in Austin. Stayed for a week and left 5 months later. Took the TV." Another, "She tried to stay with me once. Said she just needed to do laundry. Never left." Cousins who'd taken her side reached out to apologize. Others just stayed silent. Valerie, of course, went nuclear. She called me nonstop. Left messages sobbing, screaming, threatening lawsuits. Said I ruined her life. I didn't respond. Not once. But I did send everything I had, every voicemail, every text, every post, to CPS. Just in case. About a week later, Mark texted me again. "Guess who lost custody?" he wrote. Valerie's ex had filed for emergency custody, using my evidence and the CPS reports. Said she was unstable, manipulative, used her kids for scams. The judge agreed. She lost. The kids went to live with Mark. Full-time. It was over. Weeks passed. Then a month. My house was quiet again. Clean. Mine. I got a new couch. Changed the locks again just to be safe. Bought myself a new set of noise-canceling headphones. I watched every true crime doc on Netflix without interruption. And one night, while cleaning out my mom's photo albums now back where they belonged, I found a note she'd written years ago, tucked between 2 pictures. It said, "Never feel guilty for closing your door. Some people only know how to take." She was right.